So we'll start with roll call.
Chris Brown?
Here.
Rob Caruth?
Present.
Amy Grantham?
Here.
Nancy Hopper?
Here.
Katie Jess?
Here.
John Prouty?
Here.
We will. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next will be approval of previous minutes. What is the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Rob Caruth?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Prouty?
Aye.
Melissa Smits?
Aye. Next on the agenda is agenda changes and approval of the agenda. It's the pleasure of the board.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Chris Brown?
Aye.
Rob Caruth?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Prouty?
Aye.
Melissa Smits?
Aye. Next on the agenda is time for public comments. You good? All right then, let's get to the meat of the thing. Next would be the report from our CFO, Tony Miller.
All right. Well, the reason we're gathered here is for the approval of the mill levy certification. I'm going to start with the form that we're going to submit to the county commissioner today and just give you an overview of where the numbers come from on this form. The first number, the 27, comes from the state. They send me a form, and that is a given number, followed by the voter overrides. That's a previous number the state has on file, the 1.773. The abatement is also from the assessor's office. If you wanted to look at the very, let's see, we didn't scan this one, did we?
We did not.
We get this form from the county assessor, and it just shows the valuation and any abatements, and that's where that abatement number comes from. The number that I'm responsible for is the 8.967, which is the bond redemption fund, which is what we need to levy to cover our bond commitments for the coming year. So if we look at that next schedule, this is a worksheet that I go through. It shows each bond issue and what the requirement is for the coming year to meet those obligations. And then that number is divided by the valuation from the county assessor, which is that 310 million. That's up from last year by about, I think, 20 million. I should have gotten that number. In any case, that gives us the 8.967 mils, which transfers over to this form. Go back to Form 1. There we are. And that adds into our total amount that we're going to levy. Then that calculation comes up with the very last number, which is the projection that we're going to get from the state. So we just certify this form with the state, and then I come back and send it off to CDE, and then everybody talks to each other, and we get our money for the year. So if you have any questions about this form, I'd be glad to talk to you in depth. I know all of you want to dig into these numbers, so you're welcome to come into my office. The very last form is the one that the board needs to sign off on, which is the numbers from that first form just condensed down into a resolution, so we have it on file that the board approved these numbers. Any questions?
So for the old people, they probably knew that. The new people, as the assessed valuation goes up, the mill levy goes down. That's important to know, because there's some places that the property taxes, if they actually go down, it's a bad thing, because then you have to do more mill levy. But I don't think Morgan's going to have a problem with that, growing like they are. So that's a good thing, both for the bond issues and the mill levy override as it goes up. And I think you mentioned that we did, part of our mill levy was to lower the mill levy override, and it went down.
It went down that.
What was that? 1.992.
Which is what we wanted, because that's what we told the voters was going to happen, and it did. And so even with Legion Field, it goes down, which is a great thing. So
Are you sure you're finished? Because Mike would.
Would you
still
like
be
me to tell you some stories?
50 minutes.
I'm trying to think of what I could talk about.
I told her this was a Tony Miller show, have at it, you know?
Talk about your dog.
I have 4 cats. Crazy cat lady. Well, I'm kind of a not too detailed person unless you want the details. I try to just hit the high points, so if I ever don't give you enough information, feel free to draw some more out of me.
Like I'm saying, just Mike Lee was a little bit more wordy, and more trees died because the paper.
Yeah, we have a phrase that we use, it's the Mike Lee size paper, it's the big one.
Well, and I won't be around, but I made a few suggestions. Honestly, this could have been done if we'd have just moved the board meeting back a week, because I wanted Tony to feel comfortable. We actually have 3 meetings that's basically was the Mike show. So we have this at the end of January. I think we have another morning meeting, and that's for the revised or final budget, however you look at it. And
If we
again,
have
I'm
that
leaving
done
that up
early-
to Tony on how much we do. It's like this right here. I left it here until, just because I wanted Tony to be comfortable. She doesn't like waiting until the last minute, because now she's got to rush this over and make sure it gets put in so that we can get our money. She has to make sure she gets that. So we have the January meeting, and then also the June 30th meeting for the first final budget. And I don't know that I've ever waited that long to do it. But again, I'm honestly leaving that up to Tony this year. But I think she'll have some sort of preliminary budget to you in May at the May board meeting. And then when June comes, we'll make some changes. And you even have up until January to change it after that. So again, my hope would be it could change, and if you needed more, I'd rather have more work sessions to talk about stuff than have, the burritos are gonna be good and all of that, but, and Tony agrees with me that all
I
three
get
of those
nervous
could be-
pushing things off, so it's just, on the way in here, I'm like, what if somebody hits me? What if I'm late? What are we gonna do? But I did clue Penny in that if a truck hits me, she looked this stuff over, she could have subbed in.
Okay, well, if there's no more questions for Tony, then we'll go ahead with our action items. So first up is the mill levy certification. What is the pleasure of the board?
I move to approve the mill levy certification.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will do roll call.
Chris Brown? Aye. Rob Cruz?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Proudy?
Aye.
Melissa Smits?
Aye. That passes. Next up is item B, resolution authorizing new signers at Bank of Colorado on the Fort Morgan High School activity account. What is the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? This is just putting the new officers on the paperwork. Okay. Could we have roll call, please?
Chris Brown? Aye. Rob Cruz?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Proudy?
Aye.
Melissa Smits?
Aye. Next up, we have resolution authorizing new signers at FMS Bank on the Fort Morgan High School activity account.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Chris Brown? Aye. Amy, Rob Cruz?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Proudy?
Aye.
Melissa Smits?
Aye. Next is item D, resolution authorizing new signers at Golden Belt Bank on the FMHS activity account. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Chris Brown? Aye. Rob Cruz?
Aye.
Amy Grantham?
Aye.
Nancy Hopper?
Aye.
Katie Jess?
Aye.
John Proudy?
Aye.
Melissa Smits?
Aye. Okay, advanced planning. We have an invitation from Baker Elementary School to the board for Christmas dinner on Thursday between 11 and noon. Then we have winter break for students beginning December 23rd and it ends January 7th. District Sports Center will be closed December 24th, 27th, 31st, 2021, the whole year, and January 3rd, 2022. January 6th is a clerical day, January 7th is professional development day. Students return to class on Monday, January 10th, 2022. And if there's no other business before the board, we are adjourned. I like these meetings. 10 minutes. That's
What are the expectations from